Hello everybody and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7, where we're at Deep Forest Raceway. Now, a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, we had this track exactly but in the reverse, and I managed to get a couple of wins there. But today we're not fighting for a win because we're in kind of like mid to high C tier. We're fighting for points, so we want to get P8 of course, and here we are in quali. Now, my best quali lap, which this isn't, but I wanted to talk over this as I don't have footage of my best one, was about I think a 1:29.3, I want to say. A little bit later on, I managed to beat that with a further better quali time by about almost a second, to be honest. So I was fairly slow at this stage, but I wanted to show off today's race because I believe there are some genuinely good wheel-to-wheel here with a couple of mistakes from other drivers, which caused me a bit of pain, but some decent strategy, decent wheel-to-wheel, and also the closest finish I've ever had in GT7, which is exciting, so I can't wait for us to get there. First and foremost though, thank you to our patrons and members. They're all on screen right now, and feel free to like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. So, with a bit of a lower down time, let's see where we line up on the grid. Okay, so here we are, we're down in P10. There is a mandatory pit stop in this race, 14 laps. There is fuel on, but we won't need to do anything to do with that because the fuel doesn't go down far enough. I think it's only 2 times fuel, so we'll be fine on that. We will need a change of tyres, though. The plan, I think, is medium to medium. I believe medium is the only tyre available, which is interesting because usually it's hards for GT3, but here in GT3 cars for this race, we're looking at the mediums. Now, I'm in the Lamborghini. I do like the Huracan a lot. I found that my times in later races, when I jump back into this again with the Porsche, was a bit faster. I just feel that car's a bit more stable, and for me the Lambo lacks some power on the straights for some reason, but that might be a me problem. But anyway, we're lining up in P10 here, and the goal of course is to jump up 2 positions to P8 or above. That's where the points start. Anywhere below P8 means that you'll be losing ELO essentially, or MMR, and you'll basically be brought down further into the tier that you're in until finally you go down into, say, D or E tier or whatever. But 8 is the plan here. Hopefully we'll go up. So we have a couple of cars around, a couple of Lambos behind, but the people in front are hopefully the ones we're going to be looking for. So lining up on the straight here, it is a rolling start. I hate rolling starts, I prefer standing starts, but in GT3 especially, I don't think I've ever had a standing start in GT7. Occasional ones do, like the Formula races do, and occasionally the karting races do in GT7, and I find those starts just a lot more fun. But again, lacking a bit of power off the line there, but these guys are going to be fighting up ahead. So the current P9 chasing here, get a decent run. I just want to not crash into them and keep it clean. As we go through here, they're swapping positions, a bit of contact there. I look for an opening on the left. This can be a bit of a tough one, but I'll slot in behind because I'll run out of room there. They're definitely not going to give me that space. If I go for a dive bomb, I am not close enough. Down into first though, have good traction, better exit, and braking here, down into first again. Have a little look down the inside, but yeah, he snaps right, and unfortunately that gap closes there. Completely locked left down here. Have a quick glance in the mirror there. Tap on the brakes down into second. I can take that in third, but I was being a bit conservative there. And now full flat on the brakes, turn in into first and power down. Watch the track limits there, it's very easy to run over and you don't want a penalty. Almost into the barriers there, that was just by a hair's length fitting in, so that was good spatial awareness from the other guy, squeezing me enough to put pressure on but not enough to put me in the wall. So I do appreciate that, especially in C-tier lobbies that I'm in currently. You don't always see that. So we're now going to try and outbrake him a little bit into the final corner, but I've really overdone it there. That's the only time in this race that I really did that though, but I just wanted to try for a bit of a ballsy move to see if I get the car rotated. But with extra fuel compared to qualifying, it wasn't going to happen. Fortunately, he gets spun out there. That's an absolutely, that's a tremendous crash really. Spun out and sent into the pit lane with the car in, I believe, P8 or P7. So I'm now up to P9. Not on my own merit for that one, but hopefully the next couple of overtakes that we can do can be. But unfortunately for him, that guy's race is pretty much over. That's going to be damage on the front and the back and sent into the pit lane for either an early pit stop or a drive-through, basically. So that is pretty rough. We've really closed up to the 2 cars ahead, though, but these 2 are also kind of fighting and vying for each other's positions. But I'm here to capitalize on anything that might happen. So down into first here. This corner was a bit poor compared to others. That one just gone. I feel like I could have stuck it in second and kind of rode through it rather than braking and having to get traction again, but we're all good. Still following along and looking in my mirrors. There is 1 car behind chasing who's got fairly decent pace, but I'm managing to kind of keep him on there. I have a bit of a head shake there, as you can see, because I downshifted a little bit too early and kind of cut off the engine there in terms of RPM. But here we are flat on the straight down the tunnel. I do really like the tunnel. It's got a great view of the waterfall on the left there. Love that view. But as we fly down here, this is where I kind of liked a bit of pace, was just on the top speed of the Huracan. I don't really know why, but yeah, I found I could turn it in and it was a bit more snappy and oversteery that I like. I kind of swing it into the corners. Oh, as P7 spins out there, I believe of their own accord. I think they just went wide and put the power on too early. So we are up to P8 now, which is fantastic. But yeah, with the Huracan, I found the turns quite fun. It's a very oversteery car and fun car to throw into corners. But in terms of straight line speed, I felt I was lacking something. I thought maybe I was messing up the upshifts. I was going too early, but going to about 8,500 RPM, it seems to be where the cutoff is there in terms of absolute redlining it. So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a tough one, but in the corners I managed to get decent traction, I feel, whereas with the Porsche I felt the top speed in the straights was a bit better maybe, but I was just a bit understeery in the corners comparatively. It felt a bit smoother, but less control. I don't know, bit of a weird one, but these two up ahead are really fighting each other now, 7th and 8th, and honestly there could be an incident here is what I'm thinking right now. So straight on into second, we're going to be flat through here. You basically lock the wheels to the left there, and you can make that corner pretty easily, pretty tucked in, and then down into third, as you can see, a little bit better than that first lap that we had. Straight on into third there. I'm going a bit wide here, but still keep it within track limits. It's very easy to snap and oversteer on that corner, I find. And especially later on, there's a moment where all three of us kind of do it into that corner who are running together. But I find it a bit easier to keep the oversteer to a minimum there on wheel compared to controller. We've got a bit of a gap to the car behind now as well, and this is kind of the key for me in this part of the race, is that I need no pressure, which luckily these two are really putting pressure on each other, meaning there was a mistake there from the car in P7, and through we go, taking the inside line to become the outside through here, and that is that move pretty much done. Although it's going to be trying to get that back definitely over the next couple of laps. We're up to P7, but yeah, luckily they're putting pressure on each other, and that's the key for me. Being behind and having no pressure from behind, I can kind of sit and bide my time and just get some good laps in, close up the distance and wait for those mistakes to happen just like they did, and then capitalize and take the position. These two up ahead are once again fighting again, but unlike before where I had no pressure from behind, I now do have pressure. Oh, as there's a bit of contact there. We send it in here, and unfortunately the car behind just kind of misjudges that corner and taps me into the barriers, which is really unfortunate. I managed to keep it pointing straight though. It would have been really gutting after the first opening laps, which I feel like I drove quite well, for that to happen if that sent me into the barriers. But unfortunately these cars now behind in P9 and P10 have caught up because of that. So it's just a bit unfortunate there. We do get gifted a position there though, as the car in P6 I think ran off into the grass and then made contact with P7 as he came back on, and unfortunately ends up the wrong way. Due to this though, me lifting off a little bit there because I didn't know if he was going to ghost or not, we have got a car running up the inside towards the final, well, I say final corner, there's technically one or two more after, but the final big corner. But we do say goodbye to him because of his 2-second penalty. I'm assuming he got that for running someone off the road. Usually it's about that for causing a collision with another car. Unfortunately, I get tapped by the green Porsche behind there as well. So that's kind of two instances where the car behind is really kind of smashed into me, and it's not run very well. As you can see though, in the rear view, if you notice there, the green Porsche behind, who's going to be my main rival for the rest of the race, has just sent it into the pits on lap 6, the end of lap 6. So I always plan to pit on lap 7, but now that he's pit so close behind the lap before, I'm a little bit worried about an undercut now, because he was right behind and his pace was pretty close to mine. So I'm going to need a good lap here to try and keep it in front. As you can see though, we're in P5 now because of overtaking two people in the pit lane, but as soon as I pit, I'm going to be back behind them. So I don't really know where I'm running at the moment. I think I'm running P7, but I could be running less than that. But luckily, we do have a pretty clean lap. I felt I did pretty well there as we cut ahead a bit to the pit lane. And a couple of cars come past. I'm in P8, but it looks like it's going to be P10 as I'm leaving the pit lane maybe. But of course, there are some cars ahead who also haven't pitted. So as we're coming out here, unfortunately I hit the pause button there as well, have to recenter. But we actually come out in P9, P10 and hopefully stick it a little bit wheel to wheel here. And that move is pretty much sorted. As you can see though, the car behind is that green Porsche, who is also kind of looking for it down the inside there. I should have probably given him more space, but it's a bit of a tough one. But yeah, green Porsche is back, and I luckily with that good in lap managed to keep ahead of him, even though he was on the fresher tyres. But I'm now on fresh mediums as well, meaning I've got more pace to kind of throw at this. Right, flat down here, into second, lock on the left, up to third and fourth, and then brake, down to third, and just kind of coast it in, make it as kind of tight in that corner as possible, get a good entry into the next corner. Honestly, this is probably the hardest corner of the whole track. Maybe the one at the end of this straight as well. It is one you can kind of mess up fairly easily if you outbrake yourself or don't get the rotation right. But it's those two which are a bit tricky. But we're now in P9, which should hopefully go down as we go past the pit lane as more people pit. But we do have a lot of guys fighting ahead, so there's opportunities to make more positions. But I don't really know where I'm running at the moment. But the main thing is, in terms of feeling where I am, that car that pitted to undercut me has not undercut me and is still behind. Bit of dust being thrown up there as these three are fighting, heading towards the main straight. One of them pits, so we're now up into a P8 position, which is where we wanted to be at a minimum. Fortunately, though, we do have that green Porsche behind who's really kind of threatening and pushing and pressuring, so hopefully keep ahead of them, otherwise we're going to be out of the points. But everyone in this lobby had some decent pace. There was just some kind of dodgy racecraft at certain points, but you always get that online. I mean, this was one of the cleaner CUC lobbies I feel like I've had. A lot of the mistakes were just kind of driver inflicted. As I say, P. Adams ahead does murder the driver next to him, so that's not great timing for me saying this lobby was cleaner than most, but it still was from what I've seen from other lobbies. But unfortunately now I'm a little bit wary to make a move on him. I've got the pace and I'm right behind, but he has basically just blatantly murdered him. A little bit of a tap there on the front as he puts the brakes on in a place where you don't really need to. But yeah, I was a little bit wary to throw it down the inside, especially after seeing the terrorism that just occurred in that right-hander. Maybe it wasn't on purpose, usually it's not, but yeah. All of us have a snap of oversteer there as well, coming out of that left corner, as we're all trying to get traction ahead of the other. As you can see, though, the Huracan once again just doesn't really have the pace on the straight. It's a little bit annoying, and the Porsche behind is really catching up, and now I feel like he's going to make a move. So I brake here at the 100-meter mark. He slots in behind, and we turn it in. A little bit too much on the curb there, but otherwise an okay one, but I feel like he might get me on the main straight here. So I'm still in P7 though, so if I got overtaken by the Porsche behind, I'd still be in P8, but of course I don't want to fight for the minimum. I want to fight for what I can get. As you can see, the Porsche really weaving there, looking for an entry, a space to get around, and we're on the straight here now, and he's really, really looking for it. And this was a great little battle towards the end of the race, and this was going to be my main kind of competitor to fight. Good move down there, sends down the inside cleanly. I slot in, get the rotation done, and have slightly better exit, but it's a bit hard to kind of push past in these winding corners because the space just disappears. So I decided to slot in for now. Still got 4 laps to go, so plenty of time to make a move. No need to be hasty. These races aren't won in one simple corner in one go. There's a bit of build-up and chasing, so I have plenty of time. So we're all good. But following along here, I did enjoy this battle. Obviously, there were finishes in other races after this, which I may make videos on that were the higher finishes than where I ended up in this race. But in terms of actually being on pace with people and fighting, this one was fairly exciting, and I really enjoyed racing. So I wanted to make a video on this race in particular. A bit of a head turn there, or a bit of a shake of the head because of that little oversteer snap. And unfortunately, yeah, we're having that pace problem on the straights. It kind of disappeared with the Porsche, to be honest. I didn't really feel it, but with the Huracan, yeah, I don't know, I'm struggling to get up to speed on the straights. But coming up to the 100-meter board, slamming on the brakes, see if we can make a move at all. Bit of a sloppy downshift there, but there we go, flat down here. I'm also just checking my mirrors there because there is a car behind chasing, but we've got a bit of a gap. I don't really feel much pressure from him behind. He's not really making up any time, so all eyes ahead on the Porsche is what I need to be doing here. And next lap, this does pay off as I'm a little bit closer on the exit of the final little hairpin as we come through this corner here, and I made a bit more of a gap to the car behind. So no pressure, and I want to go for a move here. I feel like I'm a little far behind, but being in the tow here, I managed to get fairly alongside, hit the 100-meter board, and we outbrake them. Turn in, get the car rotated, don't leave that space on the left, which I do, but luckily he doesn't go for it at all. Really up to the line there, maximizing the car as much as I can. Through here, lift off, down into third, flat on the throttle again, then down into second. It's this corner which I'm a little bit not too great at because they close up, as you can see behind, because I think I just brake too much and I don't really need to downshift. But early shift around here manages to make some space between me and the driver behind because of the traction there. And now we're flat. Little touch of the brakes, turn it in, and a little bit of power, and then flat again, down into first. Turn us in, a bit wider than I would have liked, but still not out of track limits. And here we are coming into the final stretch of the race, the last couple of laps. So we've got a target head actually who's a bit far ahead, but little do I know he's actually about to get a penalty that is going to really aid me in catching up. But to be able to catch up in the first place, I've got to be able to not get caught by the Porsche behind. But as I can see now, I'm smelling blood in the water a little bit because I can really see that penalty on him. Half a second, that's enough, I would think, to really close up and have a chance of taking him on the final lap. But again, there is 1 lap to go. At this point, the adrenaline's going, heart's pounding. We've got to get in there, get stuck in, get my head down, and just make up some time, have a good lap. So luckily, a bit of a gap made to the Porsche there. I wish I could have done that a couple laps before, because then I could have focused on kind of getting towards the driver in P6 or P5 even. But it's no use going if at the time. I just needed to kind of focus on the final lap, and I can definitely make up a bit of time. So here we go, final lap of the race. Let's see if we can catch up to the driver in P6, or if the driver behind will catch up and try and make a move on me. I'm close enough to see that penalty. That's how I know I'm making progress. But again, that corner loses me a bit of time. Let's see if we can get a good rotation through here. Power down all the way through. As you can see though, when that penalty kind of appears and disappears, I can tell how close I'm getting and how far away I'm getting and where I'm losing time and gaining it. Here we are. Final little run through this corner. Okay, no oversteer. As you can see, the Porsche behind had a big snap there. This is going to be tough, but we'll see where this penalty brings them. They were a bit faster in certain areas of the track, but now it's going to come down to a drag race, which unfortunately the Huracan hasn't been great at all race. There's been maybe one moment where I managed to kind of catch up, but as you can see, that 5/10 penalty really does bring him close to me. I need a good turn here, which I managed to get, actually. Decent run there compared to him, and we're right on the back. So come on, Huracan. What I should have done here is probably tuck in for the toe a little bit more, but I thought I could really make the move there. But we're back in now, looking for it. Coming onto the main straight, pulling alongside. We're right there, the line's coming up. Let's go, let's push. Right alongside. Unfortunately, he takes it. I have a little shake on my head there. But to be honest, in that moment, after the race, looking over left, I really was just thinking how much I enjoyed that and how fun that was. That finish was probably the most exciting I've had in GT7, the closest I've had, right to the line, and hats off to the driver in front because he really did a good job despite killing the other guy earlier, which maybe should have got him a penalty, I don't know. But that maybe would have put me up into P5. But I'll take a P6, very, very happy with that. So thank you all so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.